Good morning. So I would like to offer two little techniques that you can put into practice in order to achieve real forgiveness. In my previous video, I spoke about forgiveness and I offered two solid philosophies, two solid principles around what true forgiveness really is. But I feel like I didn't really offer much of a solution or a practical application for it. So in this video, I'll talk about two solid things that you can do in order to live forgiveness and embody it. A brief recap of what true forgiveness really is, which I spoke in greater length in the previous video, which I'll link at the end of this one. And that those two principles were: number one, forgiveness is for the forgiver. True forgiveness is about releasing your own resentment as opposed to letting someone else off the hook. Number two is that true forgiveness sees through the illusion of right and wrong, or the idea of sin, or the idea of suffering. Basically, any suffering that an attack might cause essentially is an illusion. Which is a tough concept to embrace or to embody, but the idea is to see past the drama, see past the duality of the event, see past the wound, and put yourself in a space of non-judgment and of simple observing. So without further ado, here are two things that I use in order to practice forgiveness and live forgiveness, as opposed to simply thinking about it in some fancy way. Number one is to catch yourself in the act of thinking about your wound, about the event, about the traumatic event that you lived. Whether or not it was an accident not done to you, or whether it was seemingly malevolent and intentional. Malevolently intentional, which is the perspective of your ego, essentially. So you have to catch yourself in the act of thinking, which is the reliving of that memory of that traumatic event. Until you do that, you're run by your mind. You're run by a constant looping of your pain. So the first step is to catch yourself and step back and attempt to see where you are in the moment. There's an old wise man named John Butler. He's got some YouTube videos, you can check him out, and he always says, feet on the ground, listen and look. That's his method for regrounding yourself into the moment and taking yourself out of your head and back into now. Back into a place of peace and a place of meditation, I suppose. Feet on the ground, listen and look. There are scores of people out there with little techniques that will ground you in the present moment. Mantras that they say or what have you. Choose which one you want. For me, it's just a simple intention of coming out of my head, looking at what's around me, checking out my breath, feeling what's in my body. For me, that's what helps of getting out of my head. So, number one, catch yourself in the act of reliving the memory. But what do you do after that, right? That might stop your mind, but that's something you have to continually do in order to escape the self-torment. The number two thing to do once you've stopped yourself from thinking, or once you've caught yourself re-tormenting yourself with the painful memory, is to ask yourself a simple question, which is, what am I neglecting in me that this memory has taken up space in my inner world? And the question also becomes, what did I forfeit first in order for all of this to happen? This puts you back into personal responsibility, and it takes you out of the victim space and back into your own power. Because what actually happened is something was neglected in you first, before the drama occurred. And then you could say that you were perhaps vulnerable to a hit, essentially. And now you have a painful memory that lives on inside you. So it's very simple, because when you're reliving that painful memory, you're not in yourself, you're in some sort of past fantasy. So the question is, what am I neglecting in me now that this is living inside me? And the answer is probably something quite opposite to what you think. So whatever negative experience that has taken up space inside you is the very indicator of what needs to be healed. So to find the solution to your wound, you have to give that which was taken from you. You have to reverse it. So if if you had an abusive father, and there's no way out of that because maybe now he's dead or he'll never change or whatever, the solution is to yourself become a loving father. If you lost, if you were broken up with someone dumped you and you were deeply in love, the solution is to become the partner that you wish you had in them. If you lost a child, the solution would be to probably take care of someone or something else. Look for another child in need and take care of them. It may sound harsh, but it is the only option. You have to reverse the scenario and give that which was taken from you. Because when you give something, you keep it for yourself. You don't lose by giving. You keep what you give. Because what you give is reality for you. So, and when you give, you teach that what you're giving is true. And that's the way through. That is basically, as simple and backwards as it sounds, that's your only way out of your past pain. Because otherwise you're just looping your wounds, you're looping your problems. And it's just in your head, because it's the shit has already happened. The shit already hit the fan. And you rekindle it every day with your memories that don't serve you. So, to ask yourself these questions is to put the responsibility back on you. Even though it seems like the hardship was done to you, you're putting yourself back in the driver's seat of your life by doing this. So I would say the degree to which you experience pain in this world is the very distance you are from yourself. And the extent of your suffering is the extent to which you have to find your way back to yourself, back to your own inner world, which is pure peace and understanding. Inner peace is the barometer to how much you've forgiven or how much you've embodied the concept of forgiveness. It's always measured by how peaceful you feel inside and how well you feel. And the more you practice these little things, the more frequent inner peace will become for you, and the closer you will get to your own true nature. The problem most of us face is that we cling, especially to our pain. People grieve the loss of loved ones, all the way down to the loss of their cat, for too long. Some people lose their cat, oh, I lost my cat, Bubbles, 3 years ago. They have little altars around the house and about their cat, and they cry every time they talk about poor little Bubbles. You need to stop that shit and get back into yourself. So I would say don't get caught up in the grief. There's a huge grieving period for certain things. It does take time. You do need to grant yourself a grieving period. But at the same time, don't mourn your dead cat for 3 years on end, because that's indulging. That's getting too far into it. Don't worry about Bubbles, Grieve Bubbles if you have to for a while, but then it's time to get back to yourself and ask yourself, what hole was Bubbles filling in me? In order to, what was I hiding from that I had to use Bubbles to cover up? So I hope that helps. Those 2 little examples of what you can do in order to practice forgiveness. I'll probably make plenty of videos about forgiveness because it's a large subject and it's a tough thing to tackle. So thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.